Have you ever had a dream so vivid, so real, that when you woke up, you weren't quite sure who you were anymore? I had one like that last night, and it's been on my mind all day. It was on one of those crazy dreams where you read flying or being chased by a giant slice of pizza. This was different. It was subtle and honestly a little unsettling. In the dream, I wasn't me. I was someone else entirely. My name was Alex, and I was a landscape architect living in a small coastal town I've never even seen before. The weirdest part, it all felt completely normal. I woke up in Alex's bed in a room with light blue walls and a big window that looked out over a rocky shoreline. The air smelled of salt and damp earth. I remember the feeling of the cool wooden floor on my bare feet as I got up to make coffee. The details were what made it so real. I knew exactly where the coffee filters were kept, in the second drawer to the left of the sink. I knew that the third step on the back porch creaked. I had this whole life, a whole set of memories that weren't mine. I remembered conversations with friends I've never met. The satisfaction of finishing a garden design for a client. The slight annoyance of a leaky faucet I'd been meaning to fix. I went about Alex's morning routine. I put on a worn-out grey hoodie and a pair of sturdy boots. I grabbed a set of keys from a hook by the door, keys that felt familiar in my hand. There was a dog, a golden retriever named Gus, who was waiting for me, tail thumping against the doorframe. And I knew Gus. I knew he liked to chase seagulls and that he was scared of thunderstorms. I felt a surge of affection for this dog that, in my waking life, doesn't exist. We walked along the beach. The sky was overcast, and the waves were a deep, churning grey. I wasn't thinking, wow, this is a weird dream. I was just thinking about my day. I had a meeting with a new client later, and I was mentally running through some ideas for their backyard. I was worried about whether I'd remembered to pay the electricity bill. They were Alex's thoughts, Alex's worries. My own life, my own identity was completely gone, not even a whisper in the back of my mind. As Alex, I felt a sense of contentment. It wasn't a life of high-flying adventure, but it was peaceful. It was grounded. I felt a connection to the land, to the sea, to the simple rhythm of the day. There was a quiet joy in watching Gus chase the waves, in feeling the cold wind on my face. It was a life built on small, meaningful things. I remember sitting on a driftwood log, just watching the ocean, and feeling completely at peace. Then, things started to get fuzzy. The edges of the dream began to blur. I remember looking at my handsips's hands, which were broader and more calloused than my own hand, suddenly feeling a jolt of confusion. For a split second, they didn't look right. The feeling passed, but it was like a crack in the foundation of that reality. The sound of the waves started to sound distant, like it was coming through a tunnel. The dream world began to dissolve. The details that were so crisp and clear just moments before started to fade. Gus, the beach, the salty air, all started to recede. I felt a strange pulling sensation, like being reeled in from a great distance. The last thing I remember from the dream was a feeling of loss, a sense of sadness for leaving that life, that person, behind. And then I woke up. For a good 30 seconds, I was completely disoriented. I was back in my own bed, in my own room, but it felt foreign. I half expected to see the ocean out my window, to hear a dog whining for breakfast. When I looked at my own hands, they seemed strange, unfamiliar. The name Alex was on the tip of my tongue. I had to consciously remind myself of my own name, my own life, where I live, what I do for a living. It was a profound experience of what they call ego death, but in a dream, my sense of self was completely replaced. It wasn't scary, not really. It was more thought-provoking. All day I've been thinking about it. What does it mean to be you? Is it just our memories, our experiences? If you could download a whole new set of memories, would you become a different person? This dream made me realize how much we take our identity for granted. We just assume we are who we are. But what if that identity is more fragile than we think? What if, under the right circumstances, or in the strange logic of a dream, we could be someone else entirely? And if we could, who would we choose to be? It also gave me a strange sense of empathy. For a few hours I lived another person's life. I felt his joys, his worries, his peace. It makes you think about all the other lives being lived out there, each one as complex and real as your own. Every person you pass on the street has their own version of a creaky step, a favorite hoodie, a dog named Gus. They have their own internal world that is just as vivid as Alex's was to me. I don't have any grand conclusions, just a lot of questions. Maybe dreams are just random neurons firing, creating meaningless stories. Or maybe there's something more. Maybe they're a way for our minds to explore different possibilities, to try on different lives for a night. A way to step outside of ourselves and see the world and our own lives from a brand new perspective. I'm not sure if I'll ever dream of being Alex again. Part of me hopes I do, just to see how he's doing. But even if I don't, the experience has stuck with me. It was a powerful reminder that our own reality is just one of countless possibilities. And it's made me appreciate my own life, my own identity, a little bit more. It's good to be me. But it was fascinating, just for one night, to be someone else. Have you ever had a dream like this? One where you were a completely different person? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. It's such a bizarre and interesting phenomenon. Thanks for listening to my strange dream story. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more thoughts and musings. See you next time.